This is my iPhone XS Max, and I've had this phone for just a little over 2 months. So I bought it on launch day. I was super excited. I mean, I was reasonably excited actually, because it is not that big of an upgrade, to be honest, from my iPhone X. And that is the downside of upgrading every year. You kind of don't get the same excitement you get if you're upgrading every 2-3 years, where you've kind of spent a lot of time with your old phone and you're just really excited to go into something new. Now, regardless, I still had the same feeling when I upgraded, you know, that excitement you get when you get something new. I had that, and it kind of wore off, and I found out a few things that I really don't like about this phone. So in this video, I'm going to discuss those, and before I get into it, let me explain this format. I make 2 videos, one with the positives, one with the negatives. This is the one with the negatives, the things I don't like. I'm not going to get too into it, but this is more of my personal kind of experience. I'm not going to say that everybody's going to agree with me on this or everybody's going to disagree either. So, you know, let's try to keep it civil in the comments, because I've had a lot of people be very rude in the comments and not really give any constructive feedback. So, that being said, let's get right into it. Number 1, screen optimization. So, this is the largest iPhone screen ever. So, this is 6.3 something inches. I don't even remember, because it's a massive screen. And despite having such a massive screen, there's a lot of wasted space, in the sense it's just a blown up iPhone X. So whatever the 5.8 version does, this does the same thing, just in a bigger way. Now, usually I wouldn't mind that, but the thing is, with so much space, there's a lot of things Apple could have done to improve the software. Now, the only real thing you get is, say you are on a text message chain. On the older iPhone, iPhone X, when you had a chain and you made it sideways, you would not get this kind of pane here with all the messages tabs and then the messages here. You just get this entire thing would just be messages for you. So there is very minute differences. And then if you have the 7, 8, 6S, 6 Plus, you already had that. This isn't anything new, but that's what I'm saying. With such a large screen, they've dissed that Plus name because it's no longer Plus, it's Max. And you still can't give more features like split screen or picture-in-picture at least, which is now available on the iPad. So I don't see any reason why the XS Max could not have done that. iOS definitely has the capability. A12 definitely can do that. It comes down to a matter of Apple not really optimizing their OS for larger screens. It's easily done, but they're not doing it. So that kind of pisses me off. But, you know, I got used to it. I'm still gonna say this every time, though. If they improved it, they should improve it. Not if they improve it, they definitely have to improve on this, because it's just a waste of space and there's really no incentive for me to get the bigger one in terms of software. Number 2, with that larger display, one more thing I noticed was that we have the same size notch as the iPhone X or XS. So the same notch, but we have a larger screen on either side. So what bugs me is that we still only get the same amount of information. It's just made larger. So the battery, Wi-Fi, and cellular network, how much signal you have is what you get on your right side. Left side is just time. They very easily could have added battery percentage. They very easily could have added some more information that you used to get on the older style iPhones, where you had the entire top dedicated to the different types of information. Now this doesn't have that, which bugs me, because you easily could have done it. I really want to see my battery percentage. I really hate that I can't see battery percentage on this. There's no option. There's no way to do it. The only way to check your battery percentage is to pull down Control Center, and then you get what your battery percentage is on the top right. Too many steps, in my opinion. That should not be the case. You can easily implement it. Every other manufacturer finds a way to put it into their notch. And the screen isn't even that small anymore, like it was on the the 10 or XS, where you just couldn't fit too much onto the sides of that notch. So really, that's something I think that needs to change. I'm fairly certain with software updates and with iOS getting more and more optimized, that will. Moving on to number 3, and that's the weight. This is the most heavy iPhone Apple has ever sold. So this is 208 grams. That comes in at 6 grams over the heaviest previous iPhone, the iPhone 8 Plus. And for some reason, this one, you can just feel it so much more than the 8 Plus. That stainless steel, the glass, everything, it just makes it so heavy. And then you add a case on it, because you definitely need a case, and it's even more heavy. So this is one of the heaviest phones, I use, and it just feels it. I really can feel it. And I picked up my mom's 7 Plus the other day, and it had a case on it, and it still felt extremely light. It felt like I was picking up something from years and years ago. I couldn't believe it was real. So the weight increase has just become so much more that it's, I mean, I get it. I understand why the weight is there, but now it just feels a little bit too much, especially when you put a case on it. So it does take time to get used to, especially if you're coming from an iPhone 10, iPhone 6, iPhone 7, something like that, where the phone is smaller and it's lighter. So when you come up to this, it feels just a lot heavier. And I said the same thing about the iPhone 10 actually as well, because it felt a little bit heavier, and it was heavier. But now that I compare it to the 10s, I don't know, it just feels so much heavier. So that's something definitely that I would, that's kind of a critique on my part, where it's personal preference. I'm sure that most people would settle for more weight because it kind of feels more sturdy. It feels a little bit more, robust in their hand. For me, I'm not liking this extra weight, especially with the case on it. It feels just a little bit too heavy to hold in my hand all day and use it. Number 4, this is an easy jab, and I think everybody who's spoken about the iPhone XS and XS Max have said this. No fast charger out of the box. That's stupid. I don't know why Apple does it. I'm going to get into my next point a little bit. So moving on to number 5, that is the lack of accessories included in the box. So here is the iPhone X box. It has the phone inside. It has the charger, not a fast charger, just a small little 5-watt charger. It has headphones, and it has the cable. No adapter for your headphone jack. No fast charger in the box. No accessories. Even the wired headphones in the box aren't the best quality. They're decent at best. The cable is, everybody knows about Apple's cable quality. Those things don't last for more than a few months. And it just comes down to the fact that when I'm paying over $1,000 for the phone, so while the base price is $1,000, there's no way you're just paying $1,000, especially if you live in a state that has sales tax. So in Texas, sales tax is 8.25%. So I'm paying $80 on top of my $1,000 for the iPhone XS, just the base variant. And then for this phone, I ended up paying somewhere around $1,400 with the taxes and everything else. So for $1,400, I did not get a fast charger in my box. I do not get a decent quality cable. I do not get a decent pair of earphones, and I don't even get any accessory that makes it worthwhile in my time. Whereas when you look at other brands now, they have cases in the box. They have screen protectors on the phone when you take them out. They have, so much better things. Just look at the Google Pixel 3. I hate so much about the Pixel lineup, but one thing I will 100% admit is that out of the box, they just have so much more. You've got a USB-C to USB-A adapter. You've got a USB-C to C power brick. A cable. You got that fast charge power brick. You got wired earphones. You have a earphone headphone jack adapter as well. And the wired earphones are actually decent quality. They're not that bad at all. They fit well in my ear, and it's just, that comes down to the fact that if an $800 phone can easily include all those accessories, why can a $1,000 phone not? And it's pretty clear at that point, it's just Apple stuffing their pockets, which I wouldn't mind, but at $1,000, as a business student, as someone who studied business extensively, I can understand why a business would do that, but from a consumer point of view, it just pisses me off, and it stings, to be honest, when you pay that much money, and then you have to spend a couple $100 more on the accessories that should have come in the box anyways. Number 6, let's talk about that price. So I was just complaining about the price in that last point, and the prices now are $1,000 for the base iPhone, but you can spec it all the way up to $1,449 for the 512 gig XS Max, and that's without tax, that's without buying any accessories, and that just kind of, when you think about it, when you're calling it a $1,500 smartphone, you have to seriously consider things, because look at what you could get in terms of a laptop, look at what you could get in terms of a mid-ranged phone. Look at what you can get. Now, I hate those arguments myself, because I understand why people want to pay the $1,500, and I pay it myself. But what I'm saying is that the value you're getting now, it doesn't seem worth it, because just the iPhone XR, you get almost everything the XS does for so much cheaper. When you compare it to the lowest to highest point, it's almost double. So $750 to $1,450, it's almost there. It's almost double. and you still, in terms of functionality, don't lose that much. So it comes down to the value proposition for you, and for me, I understand it and I buy it, but for regular consumers, it doesn't make sense. And I think that's definitely going to show in this year's sales, where the XR will 100%, it's already been confirmed that the XR has been the best-selling phone every day since it's launched anyway. So it's going to continue for sure. And I feel like the XS and XS Max are going to lose a lot of traction because it's just not worth it anymore. Previously, when you had the iPhone X, there wasn't anything close to it. The 8 Plus and 8 were not really, comparable. I mean, they were comparable in a lot of ways, but when you looked at it, the the 10 was just so much better in so many different things. But the XR versus XS Max, that value proposition becomes very hard for me to justify to anybody to pick up a XS over a XR. And I think that's what the issue will be for everybody who's going to go out shopping for one of these new iPhones, is because when they see it in the store, they're going to see the XR, they're going to see the XS, they're going to ask someone, what's the difference between this? And when you ask someone that, it's going to be very hard to explain why you're paying so much more for just a display and an additional camera at the end of the day. Moving on to number 7, that is the front camera. So the front camera on the iPhone XS and XS Max, how can I explain this to you? It is garbage. That's the only way I can say. It is absolute garbage when you compare it to the rivals. I get so many people commenting, no, the XS camera is great. The XS is great. What, are you crazy? Compare it to something else, guys. If you've only used an iPhone's front camera, you're going to think it's good, obviously. But when I compare it to just even a Pixel 3, a Pixel 3 is the best one, but compared to an S8, compared to an S9, compared to all these other flagship phones, even a OnePlus 6 and 6T, I will guarantee you that you'll like the image quality of the iPhone, the other phones than you will the iPhones, because the iPhone, one, it's extremely cropped in, so you have to keep the phone very far away to get a decent amount into the photo frame. Leaving that, the quality is okay, it's fine, and the worst part has to be low light. So anything resembling low light, even just dull lights, the photo quality will be absolute garbage. Just look at the comparison I did between the Pixel 2 and the XS Max. It's ridiculous how bad the front camera is, and it's a brand new phone. It's a 2018 phone. It was released 2 months ago. It's not a 2 or 3 year old phone. So I think that Apple is really far behind on their front camera game in comparison to everybody else. The camera is amazing on its own. The rear camera is just, I'll speak that in another video, but the front camera is so disappointing. It really does annoy me, because now if you've only used iPhones, as I said, you're not going to know the difference. But since I've used all these other phones and I compare them side by side, I have to sit here and try to make sense of what I'm seeing, and I just can't, because the camera isn't good. Last and final, number 7, let's talk about this new design with the antenna. So the antennas are now, there's been more antennas added to support MIMO and gigabit LTE speeds. Now that's okay. The problem is the way Apple has done it has caused the phone to have this asymmetrical look at the bottom. It's like there are 6 antenna bands on the phone total, and I don't understand why Apple had to do it in such a way where things look asymmetrical. Now, that's just the thing, this time around, I feel like Apple, they're known for being the best at design. Their design is priority. So whenever they make something, it has to look excellent. They make sure it looks excellent. They try to do everything they can to optimize design. It's always form over function for them. But this time around, it seems like it's neither, because I get the functionalities coming in, but the form has just been completely ignored. This is okay. The iPhone XR, it doesn't even have a centered lightning port. It is a little bit off center if you look at it very carefully. And I feel like design choices like that are indicating that Apple is no longer focusing 100% on design. Now that would be okay with me, but they're not focusing on functionality for that design change. So they're not doing either that well now. So that kind of bugs me. I really wish that, they would not have done this weird asymmetrical thing. This is just nitpicking here, complete nitpicking, and nobody's going to notice this. Nobody's going to care when they buy this phone. They're going to put it in a case and forget that it's not symmetrical at the bottom. But I am a little bit more annoyed by what this means on a bigger picture level than what it does on this phone particularly. So So that's a wrap for this video, guys. That winds up the things I did not like about the XS Max. The XS Max is an amazing phone. I'm loving every second of using it. It's been super comfortable. It's been amazing for me. But there are obviously issues with any phone. No phone is perfect, so I just had to point these out. Let me know what you guys think about the iPhone XS and XS Max. What have your experiences been with it? Did you upgrade or did you stick to your iPhone X? Let me know down in the comments below. I'm very interested to see what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I will catch you in the next one.